Hello. I am back here. Hey, Annie's back. This is this is Hangout number 21, part 2, because there was an unstable connection and YouTube threw me off. And I don't know why this happens with YouTube every once in a while, but they suck sometimes. But YouTube, you didn't hear me say that because you're good to me the rest of the time. All right. Okay, everybody's back. I just sent out another link, and so hopefully everybody gets the link and returns. So, okay. I was doing weird things. The whole show was going in and out and in and out. So I don't know what kind of weird, unstable connection I had. Hopefully the whole show wasn't like non-existent. But all right, Red Zeppelin's here. Hey, okay, the audio is much better this time. You mean the audio sucked last time too? Next time tell me if the audio sucks, because sometimes if the audio is bad, you just need to tell me right away so I can just come out and do a totally new link. Because I don't want to have a whole segment of a bad show where people who come later can't actually understand it. So yeah, so next time let me know that you can see me clearly and you can hear me clearly. And if you can't, I'm perfectly happy to just go back out and put up a new link. So okay, interesting. I'll have to check out how bad it was the first time around, because that's frustrating to me. All right, so does anybody remember me talking about the Whitmer case, the guy who drowned his wives in the bathtub, or his wife, just one wife? Let me know where I left you off. So I'm going to just start over with the concept of, did you all hear about the guy in England who drowned his wives and it was figured out how it worked? Because I just want to know where to start again. Okay. Where should I start? Where did I leave off? Where did you all lose me? Is my question. Where did you lose me? On the drowning issues of the guy in England, or did I get through that? Start over, please. Oh, you don't remember the England thing is kind of gone too? Oh, that sucks. All right. Start over what? The entire show? I don't know the case. Okay. Okay. Let me just do a real short Hi, Maria. Just a quick recap. Okay. I was talking about the Ryan Widmer case where he drowned his wife. Oh, sorry, he got convicted of drowning his wife in the bathtub. But there's a huge defense group now saying that he didn't do it. He didn't do it. He's been on a number of trials, and there's a support group that says free Ryan Widmer and all that kind of crap. However, what I pointed out to you previously on the last show, in case you didn't hear, was in England there was a fascinating case where a man was accused of drowning 3 different women, and they were trying to figure out how he actually drowned them. And one of the ways this guy figured out was that he could have taken their feet and pulled their feet up. And when their feet were pulled up, you go back in the bathtub and the water rushes into and it like shocks you and you can't respond and you drown. Okay. So hi, Maria. I'm glad you're here too. So, but I was saying to people, just imagine if this was used in a swimming pool. And so I'm hoping I'll be guilty of this in the future. But I mean, this is a problem that one of the ways that you prove somebody murdered somebody with drowning is that there's bruises on their body, something that has been done to them. Now, let me explain a few different ways you can get away with it. One is that some women do, and men could, but a lot of times as women, take too much medication, drugs, and they get in a bathtub and they're half out of it, and they fall asleep. They become unconscious. It's not just sleeping, because you wake up from sleep. If you become unconscious and slide under the water, it's possible that your body doesn't react and you will drown. Somebody can also give you too much medication and tell you, honey, go take a bath, and you do that and you drown when they push you under. And they don't, if you're that medicated where you're pretty much unconscious, the guy doesn't have to fight you. That's where the bruises come from. When you're fighting back, you see bruises on their body and on their arms because they're trying to get out of the bathtub. But he can just push you down under the water and you can't respond and you drown, and there's no sign of violence. So that really works. Also in a swimming pool, you can play around with your lady, and then you can swim underneath and come up and pull up her feet. And she goes under the water, and when she's got her feet up, you can't get out of that. You just like this. You can't move, and so you drown. So it's pulling up the feet is what they figured killed these women that this guy got convicted of in England many, about 100 years ago. So now the Whitmer case, this is what the question I was going to ask you. So his wife drowned in the bathtub. And there people are trying to free him. But I want to ask you, what do you think there is wrong with this phone call? Because when I read this, I'm like, really? Okay, now let me read you what happened that evening. Okay. So at 10:59 p.m. that night, Ryan called 911. The call lasted 7 minutes. He told the 911 dispatcher that his wife had fallen asleep in the bathtub at their home in Morrow, Ohio. First of all, how did he know she fell asleep? And okay, he told the dispatcher, my wife, she fell asleep in the bathtub. Okay. Okay, let me start over. My wife, she fell asleep in the bathtub, I think. Okay, he said, I think. I was downstairs. I just came up here and she was lying face down in the bathtub. He told the dispatcher that she falls asleep in the tub all the time. The dispatcher told him to take Sarah out of the bathtub and talked him through how to do CPR. Ryan put the phone down as he emptied the bathtub and lifted Sarah from the bathtub. It took around 29 seconds. Ryan attempted CPR. Police were at his house within 6 minutes of making the 911 call. They found Sarah lying naked in her bedroom. She was on the floor. Police noticed that her body was warm and dry, but her hair was wet. What do you notice in that story which just makes you go, come on now? What is it? Can anybody tell me? It's like the most outstanding statement, which I cannot understand why anybody would think this guy did not kill his wife. What's the one statement there? Can somebody tell me? That just stands out above everything else. And, oftentimes I say when you listen to a 911 call, the first things they say are very important. My wife, she fell asleep in the bathtub. He wants to give right there an explanation for what happened to her that he doesn't even know. And then the next most important thing he said is, I was downstairs, which again, therefore he's not upstairs with her. Therefore it's not his fault, right? And the third thing is, remember I always say just comes with a lie after it. I just came up here, but he probably didn't just get up there. And she was lying face down in the bathtub. There you go, Maria. It's even worse than that, Maria. No, she falls asleep in the tub all the time is a little weird. Yes, that seems a little odd that would be something. First of all, if she falls asleep in the tub all the time, maybe she shouldn't be in the bathtub. But usually when you fall asleep, when you go into the water, you're gonna choke and wake up. And I can tell you this because, I have a problem every once in a while. I have a throat close problem when I'm sleeping. And let me tell you, as soon as your throat closes up, you wake up. You wake up because you're choking. She would wake up and get out of the bathtub. So that's nonsense anyway. So the closest one so far, Margaret says she was face down. Yeah, that's a little weird way to fall asleep in the bathtub. I'm having a problem with that, yes, but that's not the big one. Maria is closest so far. Emptying the bathtub before taking her out of the tub. Doesn't that seem a little weird? Yes, but even worse than that. What happened when he found her under the water in the bathtub? What did he do? Somebody tell me, what was the first thing he did when he found his wife under the water? Which I think is just unbelievable. He found her under the water, and what did he do? What did he do? Coyne says, it's very odd. You sound great, Pat. Sounds like you're strong and recovering. Yeah, I'm getting better. I am getting better. So when he found his wife under the water, yes, Annie Haley. Yes, called 911 instead of helping her. Right. Think about this. Come on now. You go to the bathtub, you find your wife under the water, and you go, dang, my wife's under the water. Let me go call 911 and leave her under the water to continue dying. Yes, before taking her out. Yes, Maria, he called 911 before he took her out of the bathtub. They had to tell him to get her out of the bathtub. I'm sorry. She's lying face down in the water. I'm sorry. I don't understand anybody supporting this guy. I don't understand why it takes 3 trials. I'm like, yeah, okay. I left my wife in the bathtub to go make the 911 call. Couldn't take my wife out of the bathtub and then make the 911 call. So I knew, because if he at least took her out and made the 911 call right after he took her out, then he could start CPR, which Maria says didn't want to disturb the crime scene for the police. Lisa says, what do you think of the hair wet and body warm and dry? That is a little weird too. Yes, Coin, they are supporting. He's got save Ryan groups out there. There's always somebody trying to save somebody who they think, oh my God, no, I think he's innocent. Okay. The hair wet and the body warm and dry. That's really hard to fathom. So the question is, did she die in the bathtub or did he put her? Okay. So she get out of the bathtub, dry off, and then something happened and he smothered her or something. But I can't remember whether she actually had water in her lungs. Let's see. Let me see where that says. I'm trying to see. I'll look for the. Okay. Well, they do say that. Okay. Maybe just a long time went by. Let's see. Detective Russell Updegrove, what a name, performed her autopsy, determined that Sarah's death was caused by drowning. There was a faint bruising on the right side of her forehead and petechial hemorrhage on the inner surface of her eyelid, bruising on the left side of her neck, a contusion on the back of her neck, an abrasion on her left armpit, and bruising and lacerations to her upper lip. It was his opinion that she was murdered and that her injuries were sustained before her death and were not consistent with injuries commonly resulting from CPR. No drugs or alcohol were found in her system. So the dispute is not over that she drowned, but how did she actually drown? The prosecution says that her injuries were enough to prove he killed her. He held her forcibly underwater, drowning her in the bathtub. Police dusted the bathtub for fingerprints and found streak marks believed to have been made by human hands. The marks were located near the middle of the bathtub. Using a superglue fuming process and reflected ultraviolet imaging, finger marks and smear marks were observed on the bathtub. A forearm impression was found on the bathtub, and the testing presence of hair follicles determined the impression was made by an adult male. But it could not be determined when it was made. Furthermore, the prosecution argued there was nothing wet inside the bathroom. If Sarah had drowned and Ryan had pulled her out of the bathtub, the floor should have been wet with other items in the bathroom. And also, they called after he called, the police arrived just within minutes. Her body was dry, and they made reference to the 911 call, and it was their case that Ryan had said too much. He told the dispatcher what he'd been doing that night. He was orchestrating the 911 call. The experts said it was virtually impossible to fall asleep and drown in a bathtub unless drugs or alcohol was involved. Yep. For here, the prosecution called somebody that said, this is what their theory was. For Sarah to have a dry body and wet hair, one explanation is that her head was pushed over the edge of the bathtub or toilet or sink. It may have pushed either forwards or backwards, either in running water or full water. Well, I don't know about then why she would be doing this unless, I'm not quite sure, unless you just the water was running and you just pushed her face under it. I don't know. I'd have to examine that a lot more. There are some interesting issues. Furthermore, there were injuries to her neck, to her left and right arms, injuries to her scalp, a tear in her liver, hemorrhaging to her neck, other things. But he couldn't say whether that was CPR or that was from that. And then the defense made a whole bunch of ridiculous arguments. But I'm just going to go with the simple part. You leave your wife drowned in a bathtub to go make your 911 call and say, my wife's dead underneath the water in the bathtub. I got a problem with that. This is true. Maria says, depends on how long it took them. 6 minutes, Maria, to arrive. Took them 6 minutes to arrive. I think skin can dry within 15 minutes. Yeah, that may be true. Or it's possible he took her out of the bathtub and then didn't call 911 for a bit, and then claimed she was still in the bathtub. Either way, whatever Ryan is saying doesn't make sense at all. So that's why he got convicted, and that's why he's guilty. So, hey, folks, stop trying to get Ryan out of prison. He needs to be there. All right. So I'm going to talk about Madeleine McCann now, because there was a funny little story about Madeleine McCann that came out. Let's see if I can say this correctly. So apparently there was this, oh my God, there might be another suspect in Ireland. And in a place called Donegal, I actually looked it up on YouTube, so I wouldn't say Donegal. And they went to this guy's house. They're like, oh my God, it might be the guy. And he had a picture of Madeleine McCann on the wall. Maybe a creeper. but there was nothing linking him to the crime. So where that came up, but I do not really know. Okay, so but I thought that was kind of fun. And then meanwhile, was it the Mirror? Oh, the Mirror came out with, the Mirror, of course, a fine publication, which nobody should waste their time reading. But hey, I want to read you what their latest statements are on what's happening in the Madeleine McCann case. Oh, here's the Mirror. Okay. So now they're trying to claim that basically it's a done deal. Well, why is it a done deal? So the done deal is, I love these. The media, oh my God. All the damning key evidence pointing finger at Christian B. Okay. So they know it's Christian B now. After they talk about the raid in Donegal, then they find out it's not him. But anyway, back to Christian, of course, you see, because, you want to keep, that one failed. So let's go back to the German dude. So now they're saying why it's Christian B. Now look at the logic. The certainty of the prosecutor, Hans Christian Wolters. All right, I'm sorry, but just because a prosecutor says it's so, don't mean it's so. That's ridiculous. That's an opinion. And if the man who has that opinion hasn't given us any evidence, that's not proof of a dang thing. So I don't care about the certainty of the guy at all. Wolters has claimed concrete evidence will put Bruckner away for killing Madeleine, but hasn't given up any details. Probably because there's no concrete evidence. Investigators have reported to be 100% sure Bruckner is their man. Really? But nobody's charging him with anything. All right. No, now, remember this one. This is interesting. Wolters has said officials now believe. Remember the thing about she was kidnapped? Madeleine McCann was, if you're here and you don't know the Madeleine McCann case, let me just throw it to you quick. Okay, many, many moons ago. Now I can't even remember the date anymore. 2004, is it? It's been so long. May 3rd, 2004. Am I right? Because it's just been a while. The McCanns, Jerry and Kate McCann, were doctors. They were vacationing in Praia da Luz in Portugal. They were staying with a bunch of friends, and they left their 3-year-old Madeleine and her 2-year-old twin brothers and sisters alone in the vacation flat while they went and had some food and drinks with their friends, and once in a while would run back to see if the children hadn't died yet. Okay, meanwhile, so at one point they came back, and Kate came back and found that Madeleine was missing, or as they put it, Madeleine was gone. And so she's never been found since. And it's, of course, my belief, and if you want to understand my belief, you cannot go to Amazon because the McCanns have my book pulled from, they threatened Amazon with a lawsuit, so Amazon pulled the book. But you can go to Apple, Kobo, Smashwords, and find my book, Profile of the Disappearance of Madeleine McCann, and I explain what happened to Madeleine, what the evidence supports happened to Madeleine. Not exactly what happened, but what the evidence supports is my belief there was no abduction, that the parents had something to do with what happened to Madeleine. And you can also read my blogs on the Daily Profiler. You can just put in Madeleine McCann, the Daily Profiler, Pat Brown, and you'll see the blogs on the case. Now, so now when Germany got hold of this case many, many, many years later, now they claim this German guy abducted Madeleine McCann. And they originally said he abducted her in Portugal and took her all the way back to Germany to this lair he had. And they were digging up the ground into this hidden rooms and stuff they said he had. 2007? Did I just make that up? Thank you. 2007. Oh, yeah, because it's 14 years now. Okay, I'm going to go with you on that. I can't remember now. I have to look it up, but I don't want to waste time. So their claim was that he kidnapped her in Portugal and then drove her all the way to Germany to this hidden lair. And I thought right away, that is stupid, because generally speaking, that is not what child predators do. Usually children who are kidnapped by child sex predators are dead within the hour for a basic reason. They want the moment of raping and murdering them, but they don't want to deal with a little toddler because they're a pain in the butt. You know, they get scared, they scream, they cry, they poop on themselves. Not fun. People don't usually keep toddlers around. They keep teenagers. That's a different thing, not toddlers. But they originally claimed he took her all the way back to Germany. And then after they dug up all of his locations in Germany and came up with bupkis, now they claim this. Walters has said that officers now believe she was killed in Portugal and was not taken back to Germany, as once was suspected. Oh, so you knew exactly what he did, but now you change what you think he did. You see how things change when they can't come up with the evidence? So then now here's the rest of the great evidence. Testimony of a former friend. Well, former friend, first of all. And supposedly he claimed, let's see, what was it that, wait a minute. Former friend of Bruckner said he'd been with him in Algarve, where the pair had met. He said Bruckner admitted he was involved in Madeleine's disappearance. Okay, so the former friend and all of his former friends are scumbags, like really scumbags, so that you can believe any of them is all really questionable. And the claims of an ex-girlfriend, an ex-friend, an ex-girlfriend, yeah, she says, when she asked him about it, the case of Madeleine McCann, he said, I know about Maddie. I was near the hotel at the time. Well, everybody knows about Maddie, and many people were near the hotel because Praia de Luz is a small place, and he lived near Praia de Luz. So, and of course, he could just be lying like a dog. So all of that stuff is absolute nonsense. And that's the Mirror's new statement on how they know he's the guy, which I just think is funny. Hold on a second. All right. All right. Now I want to mention somebody else who did a really cool thing, and I want to mention this guy because I don't talk about too many other YouTubers because a lot of times I don't like their methodologies of discussing crime. It's just my personal thing. I do not like people discussing crimes like 30 times over the same case and pulling out every tiny little piece of gossiping information and sucking people in and taking their money because they're not solving the crime. They're just making money off of people becoming obsessed. Okay, but this guy, I really liked him, and it was interesting. Let me find his channel. It's gonna be linked below. Now, when I listened to him, he did a thing on okay, I'm just drawing Amber Heard. He's a body language expert. And I know I've talked about the body language panel. What's the name of the body language panel? What's their name? I'm now blanking on their names. Somebody tell me the body language. What's their name? The four guys that do the body language stuff, who are also involved in the Dr. Phil show with the behavior panel. Yeah. I have a lot of problems with behavior panel. I don't mind what they're doing, but I'm not overly excited about a lot of their conclusions. And I don't know that I believe that their stuff supports a lot of their conclusions. But this guy, I really liked. And I'm like, interesting. He did a thing on Amber Heard. Now, you all know that I ran into Amber Heard many, many moons ago in the green room in a New York show. And this was before Johnny Depp. And I was in the room like for an hour with her. And she was like her manager or something. And she was so awful that I'm like, whoever hooks up with this girl is in terrible trouble because she's a narcissist and a half. And sure enough, I was right. So anyway, this guy does a bit on her, which is hysterically good. And he's he does body language stuff. Now, but he did one on Madeleine McCann as well. And I thought this one is really good too. And I was really impressed with what he had to say. And I want to say this about him to begin. Let me get you his name. I'm going to put it below. Wait a minute. Hold on. I'm just trying to find my history here. Okay. Where is he? Where's my guy? Okay. All right. He's called the body language guy. Okay. And his name is, okay, let me see if I can say his name correctly. His name is, oh, come on. Where is it? Okay. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, Jesus Enrique Rosas. Jesus Enrique Rosas. He is the body language guy. Now, I looked up his background, trying to find out who this guy was. And I can't find one thing about this guy. I don't see that I don't know that he was, doesn't say he was hooked up with any law enforcement agency. He doesn't say he was, he's obviously not from the US, so he obviously wasn't hooked up with the FBI. I don't see any psychological degree. I see absolutely nothing about this guy. All I can go on is what he says on his show. And I was impressed. And I wrote him and I said, look, I'm going to mention your name on my show. I couldn't find anything about you. And he didn't offer anything. So I'm going to say maybe he's a self-made man like myself. And since I'm pretty much a self-made profiler, I can't really, speak badly of him being self-made. Because my whole point is always this. I don't care if you're self-made. I care about what you can do and when you can do it. For example, let's say somebody makes you pick up a violin and the violin plays like a Stradivarius and you're like, oh my God, this is a gorgeous violin. Who made this? You say, Joe made this. And you're like, what kind of training does Joe have? Do you really care? Because if he can make a violin like a Stradivarius, I don't care whether he was trained in his basement. I don't care if he used self-help books. The man can make a violin like a Stradivarius. So it's amazing. So I don't know where this guy got his body language experience, but let me tell you, I like the way he analyzes. And I like the way he explains how he analyzes. I'm extraordinarily impressed. He is the most impressive body language guy I've run into, and I don't know who the heck he is or what his background is, but I liked him. And just fascinating. And so I'm going to put that link below because you might find he really does a lot of stuff about the British royals. That's how he really got his start. And he talks about all the royals and very gossipy in a sense, but he's, I didn't listen to all that because I'm not interested in the royals. Sorry, UK, but I wouldn't care if it was in the US either. I just don't care. Even though Meghan comes from the US, I don't care about Harry and Meghan either. I can't stand either one of them, and I wish they'd just go away. But he's done a lot, and obviously he's gotten this amount of fame doing that. But now he's gone into a lot of criminal stuff, and I like what he has to say. And he did talk about the McCanns and the time. I thought this was interesting because I had forgotten about this. I really did. He's talking about the time they did the discussion with Ronnie Sadler of Sunday Night from Australia, and it's funny. I just have a break. I don't know whether I don't remember this or I never actually knew it. I'm trying to imagine, but the time when they were asked by Ronnie Sadler whether they murdered Madeleine, and he gives a really good description of what happens after that. He goes, so I'm going to put that link in there, but let me find the part where the full statement is, because I thought this was really interesting. And I don't know whether I've just forgotten or whether I never knew it. I just can't remember that far back. Where's the statement? Oh, okay. So Ronnie Sadler asked him, did you do anything to your daughter, right? Like, did you murder your daughter? And what you originally see in the show, in the Sunday night show, is this. Jerry McCann says, no, never. And I don't understand the word never. Did you murder your daughter? No, never. You never murdered your daughter? What is the never word? But anyway, he said, no, never. So no. And I think they even took out the never part. That's an emphatic no. So what I remember seeing was no. And that's an emphatic no. Okay? That's the one that went out to the majority of the public. No, that's an emphatic no. Now that's a good statement. If you're innocent, saying no, and that's an emphatic no, excellent statement. That would make me think you're being truthful. But I actually was not aware, or I've forgotten because it's been so many years. This is what he actually said, and it's in this link below. No, no, never. And there's nothing with any logic that could, you would have to start with why. How, when, who. And there's just simply, answer to any of these things is there's nothing to suggest anything. So no, that's an emphatic no. What in the world is all that nonsense in between? That sounds like somebody who's stumbling along because he can't answer the question properly. That's a sign of not telling the truth. Now, I'm thinking back. Why do I not remember this? Now either somehow, because I have to admit, more than many people who followed the Madeleine McCann case, even though I did a profile on the case and followed certain elements of it, I was not as invested every single day following every single thing that ever happened. So either my mind is I just don't remember this, and then maybe I thought about it and then I let it go. But you know why I noticed it this time? First of all, when he was describing this as far as body language goes and what he was saying, it was an excellent description. He says he's being deceptive because because all of these things he said in between the no and no, that's an emphatic no. But what really caught my attention, along with his great analysis, and I just thought, oh my God, why did I not see how this worked? Apparently, Sunday night and Ronnie Sadler took out that middle part. They edited out the stuff he said that made him look guilty. They only left in the part that made him look innocent. Now, Ronnie Sadler and Sunday Night are the same ones I did a different show with. And they edited me to make me look A, crazy, and B, like I accused the McCanns directly of murdering their child. They edited out my words. They are criminal in what they do. And I threatened to sue them, and it got all over the British papers. And I did try to sue them, but it turned out that when I got my lawyer on it, it turned out that in Australia, you can't sue them if you didn't make money in Australia. So even though they ruined my reputation worldwide, I could not actually sue Ronnie Sadler and Sunday Night. Sorry, I couldn't do it. So it did. Eventually, she ended her career with Sunday Night as a host. Disappeared after that. She disappeared. I don't know whether the fact that it came in all the British papers made her look really bad, and in the Australian papers too. As a matter of fact, our good journalist over there. Let me pull it up. That would be that was written in the paper. Where did that one go? Oh yes, this is just a simple one. That's not what I'm looking. Where did it go? Oh yeah, this came out of 9 News out of Australia. This is Mark Sonokonoko. Wait a minute, let me do his name right. Mark Sonokonoko. Yeah, okay. Mark Sonokonoko, who's my favorite journalist ever, because he's honest and he's an actual investigative journalist, and he's studied the Madeleine McCann case. He's really gotten great stuff out of that prosecutor, which just made the prosecutor stumbled everywhere. I've been on a show with him. It's been great. But his what he wrote in Australia was, Maddie McCann, criminal profiler, claims hatchet job and threatens lawsuit against 7 West. Crime expert Pat Brown said she was absolutely appalled at how Sunday Night Show was edited to produce a one-sided pro-McCann view and claimed she had been set up to be humiliated by Sadler. And also I said that that Sadler had interviewed her exhaustively for an hour, but only used fractional snippets that could ultimately make her a target for legal action from the McCanns. And this is absolutely true. So what's interesting to me is that when Ronnie Sadler interviewed Jerry McCann, they took away the stuff that made him look guilty. They helped out the McCanns. And when I did the show, they took away the things that I said to make me look like a slanderer and get me in trouble with the McCanns and make me look bad. So our wonderful body language expert guy here says, got to watch out for editing. thank you. And thank you for saying that, because that is absolutely true. Got to watch out for editing. And so sometimes when you're trying to look at something and determine whether a person is speaking, what they're actually saying and whether it's true, you got to be careful that they haven't edited it to the point where you don't actually know whether you're seeing what they're actually saying. I thought that was brilliant. So anyway, this guy, I'm going to put him below because I like what he has to say. And I think if you want to learn about body language, and he makes sense. He really makes sense. He doesn't go all over the place. He actually points everything out in a very logical fashion. So I'm really impressed, and I don't know anything about the guy, but I almost don't care because he's really good at what he does, and I think even I can learn something from him. So I thought that was fascinating. So let's see what else I have here. Let's talk about DNA testing in 2 cases, JonBenet and the West Memphis Three. That just came out. They're going to do new testing in the West Memphis Three case. And before I do that, I want to point out some of the problems with the new testing issues. That the touch DNA issue, it's a great methodology, but sometimes it doesn't mean that the person actually touched the object that is at the crime scene. It can be transferred from someplace else to the crime scene. So there's an interesting problem. That's what happened to JonBenet. So supposedly there was this touch DNA on this underwear. Well, who knows where the underwear was and who touched the underwear? It could be, somebody could have actually washed the underwear and somebody could touch it. It could have been out of the package and it could have been touched by somebody in a factory. It could have been thrown into a laundry bin. Who knows who touched the thing? So the problem is touch DNA can go from here to there, to there, to there, to there. So you got to be really careful about absolutely believing that touch DNA proves something. And here was an interesting, where was that case about? Okay, let me find it. It was about, okay, let me find it. This was a guy. Okay, maybe this is it. Nope, that's not it. Okay, where did it go? Okay, let me see if I can find it. Please be patient. There's a new method, by the way, called the DNA testing vacuum method. That's the one they say they're going to use with the West Memphis Three. It's a method where there's water involved and you suck stuff up and you can get more DNA than than you normally could. And so this is, in theory, you're going to have an ability to get more DNA than in the past, and maybe you'll be able to get DNA off of something that you didn't get DNA off of in the past. So that's good, and that's what they're going to use in the West Memphis Three case. I want to find this one thing, though, because I think this is really important, but I'm not going to find it, right? Oh, maybe it's, okay. Let me look at my other place. There's so many places to look. That's the problem. Just hold on. Where did it go? Okay, I can't find it. Oh, I can't find it. So I'm just going to tell you what I think I remember. Okay. Oh, here it goes. Okay. So many things open. In December 2012, Lucas Anderson, a homeless man, was charged with the murder of Ravisha Kurma, a multimillionaire based solely on touch DNA evidence. The prosecutors seemed to have everything they needed to convict Anderson, but there was one major problem. Anderson had a rock-solid alibi. Get this alibi. I'm definitely going to, by the way, put a link to the body guy when I post this. It's going to be there, believe me, because I like it. Anderson had a rock-solid alibi. Get this alibi. Do you think this is a good alibi? On the night of the murder, Anderson was hospitalized after being found drunk and nearly unconscious. He was under medical supervision for most of the night. Anderson's legal team later discovered that the same paramedics who had treated Anderson that day responded to the murder scene and inadvertently placed Anderson's skin cells at the scene when in fact he had never been there. That is the problem with touch DNA. So you have to be really careful about that. Sometimes touch DNA can be great, but sometimes it's just not accurate, especially when what they're using a lot of times when the defense teams use it. I have Ravisha Kurma in 2012. Ravisha, Raveesha, Kurma, KURMA, December 12th. That's all I know. I don't know where it was actually, because but you can chuck that in. But touch DNA is being used by the defense teams now because let's look at it this way. Let's assume that I go to a bar and I'm drinking. Okay, hold on a second. I do need this anyway. I'm drinking at the bar. Hey guys, how you doing? Okay. I'm all over. The guys are all, I'm hugging people. I'm laughing with them. They're touching me. Okay. So now I leave the bar and I go someplace and this guy attacks me, rapes me and murders me. Doesn't leave any semen at the scene. So now the defense team sees him running down the street with a knife, and I've been stabbed, and they arrest the guy, and he says, well, I found the knife next to the woman's body, or whatever excuse he gives. Okay, he gets convicted. Years later, his defense team comes back and says, we want to do touch DNA on her shirt. And they do touch DNA, and they say, aha, you see, there's DNA of people that were not this guy. His DNA, for that matter, isn't even on her shirt. Maybe because he never touched my shirt. His DNA isn't on the shirt, but we've got a DNA of this guy, other guy. Well, unless you can go back to the bar and find every single guy that touched me when we were chit-chatting and laughing, you're never going to know who the other guy is. Now, there is one other way of knowing who the other guy is. So let's say you got touch DNA and you can prove it links back to somebody, eventually links back to like the CODIS Bank, and it's a criminal. Well, you could, if he's a criminal in jail, then of course he couldn't have done it. Well, that's a little weird. Well, okay, let me take that back. If there's touch DNA from somebody who's a criminal, who would have been in the bar with me, then they can blame it on that criminal, right? Because he's not in jail. He touched me. And therefore, well, if he's a criminal, he was the guy that did it. You see, then you can get really, really confused. So you can sometimes have a guy who has 10 pieces of evidence, circumstantial evidence pointing to him, but touch DNA, oh, you see, it's not that guy. When touch DNA can move from place to place to place. So it's a little tricky. So just, it's a good technique, but it is overused by the defense teams, and they will use that like you would not believe. So now they're going to do this in the JonBenet case. Yet again, they're doing more testing in the JonBenet case. Keep saying they're going to do more testing. I'm like, how many times are you going to test everything? All right. Are they going to come up with anything new? Probably not, because, well, let's face it. There doesn't look like a stranger was involved in that crime. So let's see what you come up with. If you can come up with anything from outside the house that makes any sense. Now, the West Memphis Three. So I saw this about the West Memphis Three, and this is really interesting. So if you don't know, the West Memphis Three are actually the names of the guys. This is what they call the three guys teenagers who were convicted of killing 3 little boys in West Memphis, Arkansas, many moons ago. 3 little boys, I think they're 8 years old. They were brutally murdered and drowned in a stream. And these 3 teens were convicted of it, and they stayed in prison for many years. But then Johnny Depp and producers of Hollywood came and made these films, Paradise Lost, which were questionable as far as any other content being accurate or not, manipulative. And so there's this huge push for many years of getting these guys out. Well, the guys eventually took an Alford plea, which means I'm going to plead guilty, but you're going to let me out anyway. So they did. So they're convicted criminals, and they're convicted of the crime they committed. But they have had a huge defense team for years and years and years and years, and they have a massive amount of money coming in from their supporters and people who believe they're innocent, and from Hollywood. So now it's been quiet for quite a while, but all of a sudden now there's this new thing coming out where the defense team says there was this evidence supposedly was lost by the prosecution, but has now been found, and they want to test this evidence with the new DNA methodologies, and they're all excited about it. And the 3 guys who were convicted of the crime are saying thumbs up for that. Okay, now, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Humanimal says, Eccles, Miss Kelly, and Baldwin, those are the 3 teens. And the boys were Christopher, Michael, and Stevie. They were all 8 years old. Yeah, I'm doing the abbreviated version on a Hangout. I have if you haven't seen my video on this, go to my West Memphis 3 video. I will explain everything. I analyzed this case years ago, and I've stuck by that analysis forever. I believe the 3 teens did kill the 3 boys. I believe the evidence supports that heavily. So you can go check out my video. But now that I'm going to be honest with you guys. People ask me as a profiler, do you ever like suddenly think you were wrong? Like your analysis sucked, like you completely blew it? And the answer to that is, yeah, you go into kind of a cold sweat sometimes because, as a profiler, I am a human. I am fallible. I'd like not to be, but I am. So I analyze evidence and I come up with a conclusion of what I believe the evidence supports. And I'm not saying that because I believe the evidence supports this, that the person is particularly guilty until they're found guilty in a court of law. People have asked me, for example, how do you feel awful about what you said about the McCanns? Sorry, hold on a second. The COVID was getting to me. Hold on a second. I've had people write me this, and it's now my nose is running. I don't have my toilet paper. I mean my clinic, my toilet paper. Okay, so they have asked me, do you feel like a horrible person? What if you're wrong? You have written a profile of the disappearance of Madeleine McCann, and you have said that the evidence supports there is no abduction, and that the evidence supports the parents' involvement in what happened to their daughter. If you're wrong, will you feel like the most horrible human being that ever walked the face of the earth for torturing these parents for over a decade? Okay. And people on the West Memphis Three said the same thing. They're like, since you came up with analysis and you believe that that the evidence supports their guilt, and they were found guilty in a court of law, so I'm going with that. So they are found guilty. But my evidence supports if that they were found guilty. Okay, what if the DNA comes back and it proves somebody else killed those boys? How will you feel? How will you feel as a human being, and how will you feel as a profiler? Well, it's a tricky place to be. Anytime you give a determination. That could be the jurors in a jury trial. It could be police detectives who believe they got the right guy, and it turns out one day it's not the right guy. It could be a doctor who says this is what's wrong with you, and then finds out he missed a cancer diagnosis and the person dies. I mean, you could be a witness in a crime and you really believe that you identified the right person, and it turns out you didn't. Will I be unhappy with the fact that I'm proven wrong? Will I feel guilty that I've been proven wrong? Well, I'm going to tell you, it's not going to be a good feeling. There might be a level of embarrassment. It's like, geez, how did I screw that up? I apologize. I believe the evidence. I followed my methodology, scientific methodology as a criminal profiler. I made my determinations based on evidence. This was not just done out of emotion or guesswork like some of the FBI profiles. A white guy who loses his mother has a dog and a knife collection. Oh, it's him. No, I don't do that. I use the evidence to support. Can I be wrong? Absolutely. And will I feel bad? Probably. And maybe embarrassed? Probably. Will I disappear? Maybe. I don't know how I'll feel in that moment. But so let me tell you. So the reason I'm saying this is because I'm looking at this going, okay. So now the West Memphis Three guys are thumbs up for new DNA testing. And what does go through my head right away is, if they're guilty, why would they want new DNA testing? Wouldn't you kind of not want DNA testing? And of course, immediately I sort of break into a cold sweat going, am I completely wrong now? Because these guys want the testing. what guilty guys would want that? And so it made me think. It really did make me think. And I'm like, okay, is there? I'm going to leave that on the table. Maybe they're innocent and they want the DNA testing because they feel like maybe it'll give them a chance finally to prove that they are not guilty, even though they've been found guilty and even though they admitted guilt with an Alford plea, they just because they want to get out of prison. Maybe they're not, and maybe they want to go through the rest of their lives not being considered guilty. Okay. All right. If that's true, then all right. Let's see if the DNA comes back and it proves that they're not guilty, then I'll eat my shoe type of thing. You know what I mean? And that'll be the way it is. But this did make me pause. And then there was a part of me that said, okay, that's one possibility. What's another possibility for why there's this? Okay, let's go with it. And so I started researching that, and I came up with some very interesting information, which is the stuff that supposedly disappeared and came back is stuff that has already been heavily tested, and no DNA from any strangers. There's nothing there. So now it's been, quote, refound, and it has actually. Some of this testing has been around for a long time and they've never actually used the testing. So why now and why on this? And really, what are they getting out of it? And there is an opinion out there, and from a very reliable person who is very involved in this case, who is from Arkansas and a journalist. And I've read a lot of his stuff and I think it's very good. And I'm blanking on his name. But one of the things he was pointing out was that there is a business here. There is the West Memphis Three business, kind of like the Stephen Avery case. There's going to be another Netflix show on Stephen Avery, Making a Murderer 562, because there's a huge amount of money. They will claim anything they can claim to get another show, and it's going to get another 10 million viewers. They're going to make a fortune, even if Stephen Avery is guilty as hell. And if you want to know about that, watch my Making a Murderer video, because I talk about that, because that's one of the guiltiest guys I've ever seen. And I'm like, this is an outrageous documentary stuff done on Netflix. So I'm thinking, okay, what's happened is there's still a huge supporting group for the West Memphis Three team, the men. They're men now. The West Memphis Three men, they're out there, and there's a huge bunch of supporters, and the Hollywood is still behind them, and the legal team is still making money. So if you can make more money and you can make yet another movie, I'm thinking, we're going to see Paradise Lost. What would it be? Paradise Lost 3? I think we've only got 2, but I'm not sure. Is Paradise Lost 3 around the corner? And then I got a little skeptical. If this evidence has been tested before, and if there's no real probable reason for anything to come out of this, or is the reason the West Memphis Three are like thumbs up on this is because they know it doesn't make any difference. It's probably not going to free them. It's probably not going to prove them innocent, but it's not going to hurt them either, because it's probably not going to prove they did it, because they've already been proven guilty, and probably there's never been any nothing ever pulled out of this evidence anyway. So probably even their DNA isn't there. So is this a media ploy? Is there another movie coming out? Don't know, but very interesting. But I just wanted to let you know that as a profiler, when people say, how confident are you? Well, I can be pretty confident, but that doesn't mean I can't be wrong. And it doesn't mean I don't sometimes go, am I wrong? But sometimes it may be that I'm pretty sure of what I believe. And then something like this comes out and makes me question, but then I find maybe there's an agenda behind it. And okay, that explains the whole thing. We'll see. We're going to see. We will see where this goes. A lot of times we see, like the Madeleine McCann case. Now that there's Christian B, I've been told, oh my God, see, you were wrong the whole time. Christian B killed Madeleine McCann. Well, I have not seen one shred of evidence that Christian B killed Madeleine McCann. I'm sorry. Yes, somebody said, are you better? Yes, I'm a lot better. I think feeling better. Yesterday I felt really crappy. That's why I almost canceled the show. But today I actually am feeling better. But, a little bit left. But I'm not going to complain, because It's now day 5, and I haven't gone downhill, so I think I have Omicron and not Delta. I'm so thankful for that. So, oh Lord, now we're losing internet again. Hey, Lisa says, does your chest hurt when it cough? No, it does not. So it's very mild at the moment. And I think my internet is failing again. I don't know what's going on tonight. I am plugged into the internet. I thought I was plugged into the internet. I'm going to check this out now. What? Okay, wait a minute. I'm going to see. I am plugged into the internet. But, I'm beginning to wonder. Well, I'm going to check this. No, I'm plugged. Nope, I'm plugged. I am plugged into the internet. This happens with YouTube. I don't ever have the problem, or extremely rarely with StreamYard, but apparently with YouTube, sometimes they have really, I don't know, it doesn't seem to work as well. So, thank you, Maria. Maria says, profiling is an investigative tool, not a guilty verdict. Absolutely. Totally an investigative tool. And I point this out over and over again. It should never be used in court. I'm totally opposed to profilers in court. It's an investigative tool to help. The detectives can do profiling themselves, and that's what I am working on, teaching detectives to be their own profilers, because that's where profiling belongs in the first 48 with the detectives. They profile their own cases. They just need more training in it. And it's an investigative tool, not anything proven. Pat, have you ever been on Ed Opperman? Yes, I have been on Ed Opperman. I liked him very much. I haven't done his show in years, but I did a lot of stuff on his show. I think on Madeleine McCann, and I might have done something on West Memphis 3. Put in Ed Opperman and Pat Brown, and you'll see whatever the heck I ever did with him. I one of the funny things about doing a lot of TV and stuff is that, and radio shows, is that, sometimes I'll be looking up. I do a lot of research, and I want to find out people's opinions, not only my own, but other people's, like this new body language guy that I like. I want to hear what he has to say. And Ken Maines, who has the Unsolved No More show, I really very much like him. Don't agree with him on West Memphis 3, but hey, Ken, it's okay. I like hearing from him because I learn things from him too, how he views things. And so sometimes I put in, information. I go, okay, I want to know about this thing, and then I click the button, and I'm like, and then I see this thing. So and so said this and this. I'm like, oh, I really like what that person's saying. And then I find out it's me. I'm like, oh, that's nice. It's just kind of funny. I'm like, I'm glad I think I'm intelligent. Oh my goodness. Let me see. Okay, I have one more thing to do here before I end. Ken is cool. Yeah, Maria, I like Ken a lot. Again, I don't recommend many people, and because I do not like what I see a lot of. Okay. I'm not a canceller. I don't believe in canceling people. There's people out there, I do not approve of their shows, their YouTube shows. I find them grifters, and who maybe, a couple of those I'm talking about. I find them grifters. I don't like their methodologies. I don't like that, how they're sucking money off of people that for stuff I think is kind of unethical. But I'm not a canceller. If they're not breaking the law, they have the right to have their show. And if people want to give them all their money and believe what they say, they may do so. I mean, I don't cancel people. I don't promote them, but I don't cancel them. But so when I promote someone, and when I say promote, it isn't really promote. It's like, here's someone I think has some value that may add something to your knowledge. Ken Maines on Unsolved No More, I like him because he explains very clearly information. He does it in a different way than me, and I like what he does because I'm not everybody and everybody's not me. And sometimes I'm like, man, I'm so impressed by the way they do that. Like the body language guy, I'm like, man, he's so professional, and he edits really well, and he's so clear, and I'm like, I'm not at all like that. I really, really like the way he does it, but I can't do that. I mean, it's just not me. And so I appreciate people who have different abilities and different skills than I have. And I'm like, I want to link him because I want people to be able to get educated by what he has to offer. Because everybody has something slightly different to offer. What I like about Ken Mains is that he offers a detective's point of view of how he would review this case. And I think he's a good detective. I don't always agree with him. I don't, about certain things. But I like the way he describes everything and how he comes to his conclusions. And there is, if you're working on an investigative team, it is important to not just completely say, oh, your opinion is wrong. I'm right, you're wrong. I mean, that's never correct. So if I were working with Ken Mains, for example, on a case, let's say we were both working on West Memphis 3, we would both note different things and we might argue about them. But the point is that we're focusing on different aspects of the evidence and trying to determine what this means. And maybe we'll come up with 2 avenues of investigation. That's perfectly fine. We never want to get to the point where we won't listen to another person's point of view. Where we cancel people because they are opposing us in their political views or their professional views or whatever. I don't cancel anybody. No, you can't come to my channel and trash me. I will block you. You don't come to my YouTube channel and then tell me I'm an idiot and then say I'm unprofessional, I'm a fraud, blah, blah, blah. I will block you. But you, on the other hand, may keep your channel or your Facebook page or your Twitter. And for example, I'm on Twitter and there's a lot of people have been recently banned from Twitter, had their accounts removed because Twitter disagrees with what they have to offer. Now, I don't care whether you agree with people or not on certain aspects when they come onto Twitter, but here's the point. I want to know what everybody thinks. I do want to hear that. I might go to their channel and listen to what they have to say. I want to be challenged, and I want to understand. And I don't want to be in the dark about how other people think. And I also don't want to think that I'm so brilliant that everything I say is that you can't possibly argue with anything Pat Brown says. Pat Brown is always 100% correct. No, that's nonsense. And if I am unwilling to hear some other viewpoints, then I have a problem. And I want to hear those because that's what debate was always about. There's nothing wrong with debate. Now, if some people say I won't allow debate on my channel, it's not the point. I will allow people to discuss. The problem sometimes with YouTube channel and Facebook is people come purposely to attack. And I always know this because there's as a profiler, I can see it coming. And I always try to give the person a chance. They'll start out with things like this. I've always respected you, Pat. That's an indication right there. A profiler will tell you that means they're going to attack you and they're not going to respect you. They're just saying that to throw you off get your guard down. And then they go, but I think you're wrong about this case. And I respond nicely. And then they go, well, you're a total idiot. And I go, okay, bye-bye. It always comes eventually. I can see it coming, but I will always respond at least once or 2 times, usually waste my time because I know it's coming. But I'm willing to do that just because I want to give that person a chance because I do want to hear other people's opinions, but not unfounded opinions, not gossip, not attacks on me. And then if you think I'm a total idiot as a profiler, I do suggest you go someplace else and promote yourself somewhere else. But come to my house and attack me is not okay. But I want to hear other people's opinions, and I want other people's opinions to be out there. So I do not want to cancel any YouTubers, even the ones I think are grifters. Unless they're breaking the law, they have the right to their opinion, they have the right to their show, and they have a right to suck as much money off of the people as they can get. They have that right. People want to give them money because it makes them happy. I can't stop. I won't stop them because they have the right. I just don't agree with their ethics and I don't agree with their methodologies. And I will say that. So there you go. So that's my point. So anyway, the last thing I want to talk about is Amy. I can't pronounce her name. No. Oh, Chucky's asked a question. Okay. So sorry, I didn't get to say a whole bunch of things about wonderful things you said. Okay, let me try to go back here because okay, let me see. Let me just go back a second before I do Amy. I can't pronounce her name. Mihaljevic. Mihaljevic. I'm not even going to get close to that. Oh my God. No, I want to point out this about Triple Crown says, I'm stunned with how many celebs support Eccles, Depp, Pearl Jam. Yeah. Here's the thing. It's easy to support people who people feel, once you get something started where somebody is, you make them seem like victims, then, wow, it's interesting. I'm just sorry. I just look behind me. I'm like my camera is such that it looks like my mange is about to slide off the table. It's not. It's a flat table. It's just something's wrong with my angle. But anyway, once you can present somebody as innocent and you have an agenda, and the agenda with the West Memphis Three was these guys were only found guilty because they wore black clothes and listened to heavy metal or whatever the heck it was. That they claimed they were Satanists when they weren't, and blah blah blah. So they were weird. They were considered weirdos by the local community, and so the Christian community of the area attacked these guys as being Satanists, and that's the only reason they were found guilty. This is absolutely not true, but that is what was presented, and so a lot of people want to jump on the bandwagon and be on the right side of what's popular, and I'm just going to point out that one of the things I always point out with the Madeleine McCann case. Do you know how few profilers or anybody are willing to say that they think there is no abduction? Gonzalo Amaral, who was a original detective on the case, has stood by his conclusion that there was no proof of abduction. I have stood by that. The wonderful Mark, do you have to have such a hard name? I love you. Mark Sanokonoko from Australia has been a brilliant journalist. And some people out here in Facebook and internet have stuck by these things. However, if you actually look at how many criminal profilers stuck by this, you don't see it. You don't see the ex-FBI profilers, the retired FBI profilers coming out and saying, hey, I think Madeleine McCann was not abducted. You don't see that. You know why? Because it ruins your reputation. Because you don't get documentaries, except people putting in the documentary to slander you and ruin your reputation. You don't get good opportunities. This screws you over. So what happens is if you go on the side of where, like making a murderer thing, for example, saying Stephen Avery is innocent will get you huge amounts of support, like people just cheering you, the defense team cheering you, and Pat Brown says he's not innocent, and I get hate mail. Nobody's going to invite me on any damn show, and they get me hate mail. I get a lot of nasty stuff because people like to side with what is popular. And that makes them feel, it's kind of like what I just talked about recently with the case of Theranos. How did Elizabeth, I forgot her name now. Elizabeth, what's her name? Let me go back. I forgot her name. Elizabeth Holmes. How did Elizabeth Holmes get so many people on her side? Because it benefited them. And let me tell you, there's a lot of things that would have benefited me more than going against the grain, but a lot of people don't want to do that, and they can give concerts and stuff, and everybody cheers them on, and it's a wonderful feeling. It's a lot better than getting hate mail. That's why. So let me see. So let me see what else do we have to say before I go to the last one. Okay, so Chucky had asked, do you think Kevin Kline or Garrett Kurtz could be the bridge guy? No, absolutely not. Kevin Kline, I do not believe the girls were catfished. I do not. First of all, the other guy, I think, people pull some of the. In case you don't know the Delphi case, it's the two girls who were brutally murdered. They went for a walk over this bridge, and this creepy, what they call bridge guy, followed them and. Or didn't follow them, but he was waiting for them. And they took a video of him crossing the bridge. And then he said, down the hill, apparently had a gun or something and made the girls go down the hill. And then they got murdered. Probably, sexual homicide. Anyway, they both got murdered. And so all kinds of suspects are being pulled out of the woodwork. This guy over here and this guy over here. And there's a lot of creepy dudes in town and a lot of creepy dudes not in town. That probably not have anything to do with it. And the other theory is that they were catfished by this guy by the name of Kevin Kline. And he's a creepy dude. I mean, creepy dude is a word I always use. He was catfishing girls about that time. And he was pretending, he had a lot of stuff, he got arrested. So, I mean, he's a creepy dude who got arrested for child pornography and stuff like that. Yeah, okay. But here's the problem. I do not see any evidence, because it's been almost 4 years, 5 years, almost 5 years now, 4 years, at least 4 years. Nobody has ever connected this Kevin Kline guy, catfishing the two girls. There's no actual connection. And in 4 years, you think that would be there. I don't even know why the police are going there at this point, why they brought this up. Maybe they're thinking there's some other connection. They're desperate. I personally don't believe they were catfished. I don't think those girls went there to meet anybody. That's not the reaction they had to the guy on the bridge. I don't see it. It didn't look like they were meeting anybody. I personally, and if you can go and look at my Delphi video, it appears more to me that the girls got out of the vehicle and somebody saw them getting out of the vehicle and going down the way they were going. And that particular person pulled over to where the cemetery is, and he came in from a different direction, waited for them at the bridge because he figured they might get there eventually. Now, serial killers do this. They'll look for opportunities, and they might have 20 almost opportunities, but never actually get lucky. And then one day they get lucky. And so this guy may have been looking for girls, and he saw them and thought, okay, I'm going to kidnap these girls and get them back to my vehicle. And then it went wrong on the way, and then he ended up killing them there. But I don't. It could have been a guy who was already just waiting for somebody to show up. But I find it a little weird that he would be wandering around the bridge and the path forever, hoping that a girl would come along and letting people see his face. I have problems with that. I honestly think that it's more likely that he saw the girls get out and he saw an opportunity and he pulled into the cemetery area park and then came in through there, which is exactly where the girls were found near. If you come from the cemetery to the bridge, that's where the girls were killed. So I believe that he was trying to get them either back to his car or just close enough so that he could escape in the car. I think it's an unknown person still. I think that here's the way serial killers work. People always think you got to know who they are. And the problem is you usually don't know who they are. It can be just anyone. And that's why the police are so stumped. They have no clue. No clue. And one of the things they failed to do properly, which annoyed the heck out of me, was they didn't go right to the public and say, this is the exact time. This is the behaviors. We're looking for a psychopath, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Do you know somebody who was missing at that time of day, who would be in that area, who might have, for example, seen the girls get out of the car, that might have parked at the cemetery? Maybe the guy was going to the cemetery to put flowers on the grave of his mother, who no longer was there, to give him a free place to stay. I don't know. But, whatever, but give the public something to work with, and so you can get information back. They didn't do that. They basically just said, we're coming after you. We're going to get you, which was, and you must feel bad, which he didn't. They did an emotional plea, which really upset me. So I think if they had just given a very, very calm and asked the public for information about who this guy could be, they would have been better off. But the problem is he's probably a total stranger. That's the way serial killers work. He committed his crime and he's gone. And unless somebody in the public can identify him, the police have no idea who the heck he is. And now it's been 4 years. Good luck, because probably all the evidence is gone. Even if you get a guy that looks like the guy there, even if his mother was dead and in that cemetery, so he had a reason to be there. Even if he's missing from work, by now, 4 years has gone by, all the evidence is going to be gone, unless he left DNA evidence on those girls. Unless he did that, the case is screwed. And people don't like to admit that, but that's the way things work. So I'm going to say the chances of that case being solved are 5%. Sad but true. Chucky says, do I think the guys are local? Relatively, because the likelihood of him being a guy is from completely out of the state, and he just decides to happen to come to that park that day is probably not likely. There's a trucker coming through. I doubt it. I'm going to say he's relatively local, has some reason to be in the vicinity. Either he lives relatively close, or he's got some connection, work connection, relative connection, some reason to be there. I would say probably within, a fairly small area, like 10, 20 miles, maybe something like that. Yeah, that's what I would guess. But who the guy is another question. Humanimal says, entry from the cemetery takes it back to someone that shares your name. What? That's interesting. His orange truck was there. He knows the area. Okay, I don't know anything about an orange truck. I don't know. Okay, one of the things I'm always very careful about Humanimal, in general, is that a lot of times there's so much information coming across on these shows that I do not approve of. That the family said this, that a friend said this, that somebody said this, that somebody else who's unknown said that. Even if they're known and they said that, half the time I don't know if there's any validity to anything. So unless it comes through a police verification, something where I can absolutely know it's evidence, I totally do not go with it, because I just don't know. And I'm not going to start speculating on a whole bunch of nonsense. That's one reason I don't have a channel that I've done Delphi once. And I will never do Delphi again unless there's some really interesting piece of information to talk about, because I'm not going to sit here and do a live show where I'm going to start analyzing every single piece of gossip I've ever heard and do 10 shows on it. It'll make me a lot of money, but I won't do that. So essentially, Humanimal, you may know the case very well, but I'm going to tell you a lot of stuff that you know is probably not actually evidence. It's information, but it's not evidence. We do not have that much evidence. We have the video, which is evidence. Other than that, 2 girls were killed. The video, we know where they were killed. That is really all we know. Everything else is hearsay. And I won't go there, even if it's... And Lisa says, was he walking the bridge all day waiting for a target? Well, he could have been, but I mean... Yeah, serial killers sometimes do have special places that they walk, hoping that they'll get lucky. It could have happened, yeah. But I tend to think he came in because of the location the girls were killed at, and the way he was pushing them toward that location. I believe his car was on the other side of that location, and so I don't believe he's just wandering around. I think he saw them, but I'm not absolute on that. So he could have been. It's possible. Let's see. What age do you think he is? I really don't know. You can look at a video and you can try to figure out. This is where, again, I'm very careful about that, because first of all, I suck at face and ages. I got kind of like face blindness thing. I can't really tell the difference between people. I'm horrible with names, and quite frankly, I'm not too good with. I'm a horrible witness. I just am. I suck as a witness. Don't ever if you commit a crime in front of me, you're in good shape, because I probably won't get your race. I might get your sex right, but maybe not. And I might get, but I'm probably not going to get your race or your nationality or anything. I'll probably say you're dark haired when you're blonde. I don't even know. So I'm terrible at it. So I'm looking at this guy crossing the bridge. To me, okay, and I'm telling you, I suck at this. He appears to me to be close to 40-ish. I don't see him as a 20-year-old. I don't see him as a 60 or 70-year-old. He seems to be middle-aged, but that's just my opinion, and it's worth pretty much nothing. And that's all. But for people in the community to see that, because if you look at that and you go, dang, that looks like my brother, that would be important, because you sometimes do recognize a person you know. What's interesting is nobody seems to have recognized him. And I don't know why that is. But here is a possibility. Sometimes people don't want to make a claim. A wife doesn't want to believe it's her husband. A brother doesn't want to believe it's his brother. Sisters especially don't want to believe it's their brother. Mothers don't want to believe it's their son. Once in a while, you'll get somebody who'll rat somebody out, but an awful lot of times they're not going to take the chance, even if they question. It's like, does look like him. And he was missing that day. And he's a weirdo, and I think he's a psycho. But I don't want to make an accusation, because then the police are going to come to his door, and what if he's innocent? And I just put my own brother with a target on him, bullseye on his head. I don't want to do that. So I'm too afraid to come forth. I want to say, oh my God. I am getting better. Whoever said I look like I'm getting better, I am. But Lisa says, the young lady who filmed him, how did she have time to do that? She felt threatened. Seems they would have known him. No, absolutely not. I think they felt he was creepy, and she just hit the button and started videoing, because she was like, what's wrong with this guy? Doesn't take it more than a second to do that. And kids are really good at that. They did not seem to know him. I don't believe they knew him. And even if they were catfished, they would definitely think it's not the right guy. So they could have filmed him because they thought, this guy's not the right guy. I honestly don't think so. I think I think she was brilliant in the fact she hit the video button. But she didn't say anything. And she was really, she could have said something. I think she was just at that moment thinking, who is this guy? And just hit the button. That's what I think. The video shows him walking casually and laid back. Wouldn't he rush for them? Not necessarily. He wants to get close, and then say, pull out the gun. And once he's got the gun, and he says, down the hill, guys. And he's got control. This guy is a cold-blooded psychopath. So think of it that way. So, but I want to go on to Amy Mihaljevic, because I was asked about this, and I know one of you wonderful people asked me about this, and that's why I'm doing it, because I try to, for the Hangouts, I try to pay attention to my patrons here and if you're still here for whatever reasons after all the technical issues, if you wanted to be here for this Hangout and you wonder why you aren't here, it's because this is a live Hangout for only the Patreon supporters who support me on the third level, who keep my channel surviving. Sundays are open to everybody, and I'm going to have Saturday morning at 12 a.m. Eastern, I am doing a show which is open to the public, and it is my Asian Oceania show, which I'm going to do twice a month for people who cannot ever show up on my Sunday shows because they're sleeping. I'm going to do cases from Asia and Oceania, and so I'm going to do one from India on Saturday morning at 12 a.m. But the Hangouts here are only for Patreon people. This is my once a week thing where I get together with my Patreon folks, and then they get to be here, and then I make it public later. But so the suggestions that came in from my Patreon people. So one of the questions was about, and sometimes I talk about these things here because I can't do a whole show on them because it serves no purpose, because I got nothing much to say. And people say, well, why don't you have something to say? And the reason is because there's just not enough evidence to go on. But I wanted to comment on this one, if I can find it now. Oh, here we are. Okay, it was the murder of Amy Mihaljevic. Yeah, I'm not pronouncing that correctly. I'm sure. Mihaljevic. All right, Amy Mihaljevic. She was killed in 1989. 10-year-old American elementary school student who was kidnapped and murdered in the U.S. state of Ohio in 1989. And the reason this is so interesting is because, first of all, the killer's never been found, still active. But let me talk about the disappearance about this child, and it's just really interesting. And the reason I want to bring this up, Lori says, are you coughing less? Yes, I am, except when I'm trying to talk through an entire show. And then you start getting, overuse syndrome. That's my medical term. Okay, what happened to Amy? On October 27, 1989, Amy was kidnapped from the Bay Square Shopping Center in Bay Village, Ohio, a suburb of Cleveland. Now, this is what is fascinating. The abductor had contacted Amy by telephone and arranged to meet her on the pretext of buying a gift for her mother. because she had recently been promoted, as he told her. So on February 8th, 1990, the girl's body was found in a field close to the road off of County Road 1181. All right, she was dumped shortly after abduction. So basically, she was a child predator, okay? So they did this investigation, and it turns out in November 2006, it was revealed that several other girls had also received phone calls similar to the one Amy had received in the weeks prior to her abduction. An unknown male caller claimed that he'd worked with the girls' mothers and wanted to buy a present to celebrate their promotions. The girls who received these calls lived in North Olmsted, a suburb near Bay Village. Some had unlisted phone numbers. This new information was considered significant by investigators. Amy and the other girls who received such phone calls had all visited the local Lake Erie Nature and Science Center, which had a visitor's logbook by the front door. The girls may have signed the book and added personal information, including phone numbers and addresses. I hope that has stopped. No, the fact that you would have school-age children putting in their addresses and phone numbers is not a good thing for a nature center to do. All right. Apparently, this was an unsolved case, but what is obviously fascinating about this case is, yes, Humanimal says ruses. They used ruses. Yeah, and what an interesting ruse it was, because this person called up the children while their mother apparently was not at home and said, hey, this is what happened. Your mother's got a promotion. And I guess the girls are old enough to understand what a promotion is. Let's go buy her a gift. And of course, the girl's like, first of all, why would you know my mother had a promotion? Even if she didn't know her mother had a promotion, or her mother didn't even have a promotion. This guy's calling her about that, meet you at the shopping center. I guess this was walking distance. And it's just, how old was this child? Let's look at it again. 10 years old. I'm thinking my granddaughter is like 7 right now. I'm like, 10 years old? Somebody could convince her that her mother got a promotion. She should go to a shopping center and meet some completely strange dude to pick up a present. But hey, that's just, that's interesting that this was something children fall for. And here's something I always want to point out. And I say it over and over again. Nobody ever wants to hear it because it's like considered mean. Your children are stupid. Your children are stupid. They're stupid. I can convince a child of just about anything. They're stupid. That's why there are things people called adults and people called children. Children are stupid. They fall for stuff because once you practice how to get the child to believe you, they'll fall for it. They just do. I mean, you don't want to gamble that your child is not going to fall for that. You want to think, oh, my child is so smart, they would never do that. No. 9 out of 10 times, your child will be stupid. just accept it. Just accept it. Why do you think so many times I say, can you help me catch the puppy? Why do people, have you seen, oh my God, I watched this video the other day, and these children were getting a puppy for Christmas or for Hanukkah, whatever it was, but they got a puppy. And these children, when they opened a box and saw the puppy, or the parents walked in with a puppy, they burst into tears. They're absolutely beside themselves. They were so happy, they cry and cry and cry. I mean, it is really like, I couldn't stop watching because every single child's like, got a puppy. Okay. Children love puppies. They really love puppies. My granddaughter really loves puppies too. Lots of children love puppies, So if I were a dude and want to get a child to help, I want to kidnap a child, I'm going to tell them there's a puppy there. Oh my God, there's a puppy in a ditch and it's caught in a trap. Can you help me? If you could just open the trap, I can get the puppies. I'll open the trap, you can pull the puppy's paw out. You know how many children will fall for that crap? Like 99% of them. I mean, unfortunately, children are children. Stop thinking that they have brilliant adult minds. Even adults are stupid. Oh, come on now. We fall for that crap too. People have to stop thinking we're so darn smart. We're not. we have like hearts of gold sometimes, or oh my God, I wouldn't say that to somebody, so they must be telling the truth. So yes, it's easy to fool a kid. So the fact that this guy called up all these girls and told them, "Oh my God, you need to get a present for your mother." I mean, you think, "Oh my God, who would fall for that?" Well, apparently a whole lot of girls would. Not all of them. And here's the point: you don't need every child to fall for it. You just need one. Just like when a guy gets on the internet with all the dating sites, and he says to each one of these women, "Hey, I'm so and so. Hey, why don't we hook up?" 8 out of 10 women might say, "I ain't hooking up with you, dude." But 2 out of the 10 women go, "You're kind of cute." And then he goes, "I'm going to get one of those 2 women." And then one of those 2 women agrees to meet him, even though they have no clue who this guy is. So they hook up with him on Tinder or Facebook or whatever, and they're never seen again. Because all you need is one. So this guy found one. It was poor Amy. Anyway, I just think it's really interesting because it's the issue of it's not that hard to sucker kids into doing stuff. So if you've got children, please pay attention to that. Now, how they should have called this guy is clearly there was a connection between the guy and the women, the girls, the guy and the girls. It wasn't a complete. I mean, it may have been a stranger, but it wasn't like there was no connection. He didn't like kidnap her off the street when she came home from school. There was actually a connection, and they thought it was the nature center. Okay, so now the question is the case solved or wasn't it solved? Okay, now there was. Let's see what the thing was about this. Okay, so there were a lot of potential suspects, and there was reported there was a long-time suspect in the case. Okay, when you hear about the long-time suspects, a lot of times the reason they're long-time suspects is because they are the guy, but they just can't prove it. So sometimes when you talk about unsolved cases, it's not really unsolved, it's just unprosecutable. It's a big difference. I have a lot of cases I worked, which I solved. I will stand by that. But they're not prosecutable, so I can't prove it. All right. So anyway, there was let's see. I'm trying to see who this was that they had. In 2016, it was discovered that a blanket and a curtain located near Amy's body had hairs on them similar to their dog. Okay, they were possibly used to conceal the victim's body before she was left in a field. Okay. They followed a potential link between identity thief Robert Nichols. Okay, I'm not convinced of that, but there was something that was interesting here. Okay, a major development was 2021, which was our last year. Yay, 2022! It's so exciting so far. I started the year by getting COVID on the first. It's got to get better, right? Okay. A publicly unidentified man, age 64, was implicated by a former girlfriend with whom he was involved at the time of the kidnapping and murder. She alleged that he was uncharacteristically absent from the residence located in close proximity to the abduction site when the victim first disappeared. The man called her later that evening, inquiring if she had seen media releases about the abduction. He was employed in the same city, and his niece was in the same grade as Amy. Police interviews with the man included, quote, suspicious statements, including the possibility he had met Amy's mother, Margaret, before. His DNA was obtained without protest. He later failed a polygraph test. A warrant to search a storage facility led authorities to confiscating certain items of interest. Additionally, the 2 individuals who witnessed the yet-to-be-identified kidnapper led Amy into his vehicle identified the potential suspect out of lineups conducted in May 2020. The vehicle itself was consistent with what the man drove at the time, including the fact that its carpeting was similar in coloration to the fibers on Amy's body. A vehicle of the same make and model had been observed near the body's dump site on February 8, 1990, when the victim's body was recovered along the roadside. So, Do you think it might be him? Okay, looks like an excellent suspect. Why has he not been convicted? Now, let's see. When this happened was in 1990. It's now 2020. It's been 30 years. I don't know how old this guy is now, but he's probably ready for assisted living, and he might get it in prison. But my guess is, unless DNA is involved, he's not going to get charged because everything is very circumstantial. And even if the circumstantial stuff is really, 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 really good, they just can't move forward with it. Suddenly Beautifully says, sometimes I think Ellie knows the Delphi killer, but doesn't have enough evidence. I personally think that's not true. I don't. I think they actually have no clue who he is. And that's what I believe. I think they may have interviewed him, but I don't know that they know who he is. I don't think they've got evidence. I honestly don't. Yeah, I don't think so. I think they're stumped. And this is not unusual for law enforcement. And it's not fair to law enforcement either. You have to understand, serial killers usually are strangers. And because they're strangers, there's no link to them. And they're very, very hard to capture. This is one of the reasons I promote methodology, which says go to the public with every piece of information you possibly can to identify the guy in the first 48. Don't wait and wait and wait and wait, because you don't know who he is. The only chance you have is if the public does know who he is and can tell you who he is, so you can go to his home and try to get evidence. But if you wait 4 years, you ain't getting nothing. So the approach to keep everything close to the chest, do not let information out, keep this secret, usually does not work. It works in other cases where you actually know who did it and you have a good, you just don't want to give up all your information because you want a good trial. But if you are in a serial killer case, it's a completely different animal and it needs to be done in a completely different way. Gambler says, Pat, did you say the show is a hangout? If so, I haven't joined yet, but I have access tonight. Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, that is okay. You know why that happened? Oh my God. Okay. So now that you are so excited that you got to do something you weren't supposed to be able to do. Oh, let me tell you why. Because the first half of the show was what I did not make public. I always make this, it's just for the Patreon at the third level who are supporting my channel and keeping me alive. It's just for them. It's a small group. So it's just the patrons on the third level who I give access to the show. And then when I finish the show, I make it public so everybody can see it, but they can't participate. But what happened was we had technical problems. So when I went back and redid the link, I forgot to put in that it was supposed to be unlisted, and I forgot to hit unlisted. So all of you guys got to roll through here and participate in a show that normally is unlisted. So now you know what I do with this show. So not that I don't love you, Gambler, I do, but this is normally, that's what I do. I have this small group, and I just have that special group, and so it was an accident because I had to redo the connection because YouTube connection failed. So I forgot to hit the unlisted button and made it public by accident. But anyway, I'm glad you're here, Gambler. I love you. So anyway, some of my favorite are here. People are here anyway. So suddenly Beautifully says it's a freebie. Yeah. It's the technological stuff that always does me in. Oh my God, now my nose itches. Okay, I am getting better though. I mean, this is day 5, and I feel a lot better than I did on a few other days. So I'm very thankful to have what I believe is Omicron and not Delta. My son, unfortunately, he was hit with COVID back in May of 2020. He was very ill. He had COVID pneumonia, and he's still struggling with long hauler syndrome, symptoms of long hauler, and still struggles with that, and has made his life very difficult to recover from from COVID. And for all of us who get Omicron now, it is more like at least for many people, it's more like a head cold with a few other symptoms. And we hope that Omicron takes over and gets rid of all the other previous versions and becomes like a cold. That is our desire, that coronavirus turns into more of the traditional version of coronavirus, which is a cold, and then we can all go back to our normal lives. So even though Omicron is spreading like wildfire, hopefully this means it's the beginning of the end of the coronavirus pandemic, and it'll turn into something very much less dangerous, and we can go on with our lives. So that's my hope. So if I have this version of COVID, I'm happy I didn't get the other versions of COVID. Believe me. Let me see last things. Maria said, "Oh, freebie." Coin says, "That's awesome. It's a freebie." Maria says, "Yes, we did." Hey, y'all snuck in here. Y'all snuck in here. Hey, join Patreon. There's 3 levels: $1, $3, and $7. And the $7 one is the one I have for people who want to come here every week and participate. And some of you donate outside because now, as Coin has been wonderfully supportive, now when I do my shows on Sunday, which is open to the public, and the show I'm doing twice a month on Saturday morning at 12 a.m., that's open to the public. Those are live shows, and I do now have super, what's it called? Super chat. Super, whatever that is, super chat. I accidentally started that, and some of you wonderful people like Coin have been contributing, and it's really made a difference in trying to keep this channel going. So I appreciate that. So Coin, you can actually come in here and I can't even throw you out because you've been so wonderful to support me on the on super chat, which I didn't really initially want, but hey, I'm going to go with that. But Patreon, my Patreon people have been wonderful and have helping support the channel. Coin says NyQuil. Did you see my NyQuil on the counter over there? Yeah, I did do NyQuil. So I have done that. Oh my God. Suddenly says, "Oh my God, Pat, that's terrible. How old is he? Is he youngish?" Well, it can't be that youngish. I'm 66, so I did not have him like at 50 years old. No, he's 38 years old, and it really hit him hard, and he has been unemployed since, and he's a wonderful guy, and he worked very hard. He worked 2 jobs before he got hit with COVID. He worked on roofs of buildings as a manager for a company, and he was up on tops of buildings in the hot sunshine and in the cold, and he did a second job on top of that, which required a lot of heavy lifting and stuff. And he was a very physically active guy, and COVID just nailed him. And now the problem is, it's hard to go back out and get a job when you cannot physically do those kind of things. So he's trying to get work that is not related to the previous work. And it's really hard because he's been out of work for like almost a year and a half. It's a year and a half, almost 2 years now. And he can't do physical labor anymore. So, it sucks. And there's, that's what long hauler COVID will do to you. So God help us all if COVID can turn into Omicron and not just be a nasty cold or something like that. Let's go for it. Let's be happy that that's what it'll turn into. That's what viruses are supposed to do. They're supposed to be lethal in the beginning and minimize into something that is more tolerable, and then eventually goes away. So we no longer have a pandemic. We have an endemic. It's been 2 years. It's about time for this to happen. I'm so happy if this happens. So yeah. So I mean, obviously the Omicron is very, very contagious. I went to play table tennis, and there were 6 of us there, and 5 of us got COVID on that day. And meanwhile, my daughter and my granddaughter also got COVID, and so and not related to that incident, but elsewhere. So this stuff is spreading like wildfire. But if it's just a cold, and not all of it is, I'm not going to say if you get this version that you're going to not be sick. But I mean, it seems to be a whole lot better than the original or Delta. So let's just go with that. We'll be happy. Yeah, so I'm feeling better as time goes on. So I wouldn't be here talking to you if I were lying on a ventilator. So hey, I'm going to be. I'm pretty thrilled to stay 5, and I'm keeping my check with my oxygen. Checking my oxygen. I'm checking my temperature. I do that regularly, and so far I have full oxygen, and my temperature has gone up and down, but low grade fever, and compared to what my son went through and what many other people have gone through, and many people aren't here today to even talk about what they went through, I'm going to be thankful. So, Triple Crown says, "Just read today there's a new strain coming from France." Every day there's like a new strain coming, so it's like making us all really like, But I think at some point life just has to return to normal, or I'm going to lose our little minds. I've already lost most of mine, so. But hopefully you are all healthy and you aren't insane by now. So, Florona. No. Florona is not the name, Chucky. Florona is the combo of flu and coronavirus at the same time. I don't even know anymore. They like every day there's like, oh, what new fresh hell is this? Suddenly, what? Oh, Pat, do you think the second Delphi sketch is from the Anthony Shots fake profile pics? I don't think the sketches have anything to do with anything. The sketches are some people they saw walking down a path. I mean, there's some poor schmuck out there going, dang, that looks like me. I don't necessarily think that there's any connection. The sketches are so different. I don't think they're valid. I think the only valid one is the video. Why would you have sketches of a guy that doesn't look like the guy in the video? Does that make any sense? We know the guy in the video is the Delphi guy. The bridge guy is the Delphi killer. I mean, there's no question about that. He said, girls, down the hill. I mean, sorry, he didn't say that. He said, down the hill, guys. That is the guy who killed the girls. Why would some other sketch of a guy that doesn't even look like that be the guy? This doesn't make any sense to you. I don't even know what the heck. I don't even know where those stupid things came from because it makes no sense. If it doesn't look like bridge guy, ain't the guy. Coin says, where do you play your sports? I play table tennis and I play pickleball. Pickleball is very popular in my community, so I play at the gyms. I play at the community centers, all indoors during the winter. And this is in Maryland. And I also play table tennis actually at the senior center because unfortunately I get to qualify. But we have some really good players, so they're not like, they're like, So I play pretty good table tennis in my life too. So, and we also have private table tennis gatherings that I participate in. Edward says, so there are lots of people coming in who are not supposed to be here, but hey, welcome. Accidentally. Hi, Pat. Hope you're well. Do you think there will be a resolution to the McCann case in our lifetimes? Unless there's a confession or her body is found with specific information attached to it, like a particular sports bag, I don't think so. I do not believe it's an abduction. According to the evidence does not support an abduction. And if it doesn't support an abduction, I don't think we're going to see that there's like she's going to show up. Some guy's going to confess and say, I buried Madeleine, like for example, Christian B. I buried Madeleine behind some rocks in such and such a place, and then they'll go find her, and they go, oh, it's the guy, Then it would be the guy. Or you go into the guy's basement, like Christian B. If you went into his little lair or whatever basement, little place he had down there, little cell in the ground, and you found videos, and the videos had videos of Madeleine on them, well, then you got the guy. Or if you got her clothing down there, something that DNA of Madeleine, you got the guy. If you got her bones down there, you got the guy. But unless they get that, then they would have to find her body someplace else. Like I've always said, it's possible. I have Monte de Montre, let me get it right. Monte Jose de Mestre. Monte Jose de Mestre is a place that's just west of Praia de Luz, which I looked at, which is like 10 minutes outside. And Jerry's phone pinged around that area, and it's a desolate area on a mountain, which is very easy to go up there and perhaps get rid of the body. Maybe one day, it's a very desolate area. So maybe one day if they decide to build houses and they're digging up the place and, oh my God, there's a body in a little sports bag, they might have somebody that they could say, hey, this might link back to certain people. Or if there's a confession. Other than that, I think it's dead in the water. However, it doesn't mean Christian B won't confess at some point to get a plea deal because of, one of the reasons they're trying to throw all kinds of crimes on him, get him convicted of other crimes, arrest him for other crimes. Why do you think they're doing that? Because if you can get enough against him, then he will possibly confess to the Madeleine McCann case in order to lower his sentence on the other crimes. That's how you get somebody to false confess. And that's how you close a case. Doesn't mean it's accurate, but that's how you close a case. So Chucky says, do you think the Delphi killer will kill again? Probably. And has he already? Maybe. A serial killer is a serial killer. They kill before or they kill after. It just depends on what opportunities they have and whether they're if the opportunities stop, then they're not going to do it again. If they were prevented from having opportunities prior, then they wouldn't have already done it. But the fact that a guy wants to rape and kill people means he's a sexual predator and a psychopath. So he likes doing that stuff. So, I mean, let's say this. Let's say you have a serious interest in fishing and you really want to fish and you studied fishing and you studied all the lures you can have and the different types of, poles you can have and all the kind of equipment. And you got looking into motorboats and you go out there and you fish one day. Do you think that is either are you never going to fish again? So I look at that. Okay, so then we have somebody I would like to knock out of here because that I'm going to remove. Because if you're going to come here and be rude, we do not do that. And you're not supposed to be here anyway because this was actually supposed to be unlisted. But hey, there we go. Yeah, Humanimal, I just got rid of a creepy person. When you open things up, there's creepy person. Coin says, she's not recoverable. Look at a local pig farm. They eat everything. No, she was not put up. I don't know if you're talking about Madeleine McCann. Madeleine McCann is not on a local pig farm. She was not abducted and she was not put on a local pig farm. I don't know if that's what you're talking about. So kidding about the pig farm. But okay. But pig farms are great places to get rid of bodies. I believe there's a serial killers up in Canada who did have a pig farm. And boy, did that work well. So suddenly there's lots of freebies. Yeah, sorry about that. I say when I came back in a hurry to get us back online because YouTube tossed me off. I just want to make sure you got back. And I just went, start the program again. And I didn't realize I didn't hit the, you can't join the program. Okay. Anyway, so we have some new people who got to experience what it's like to be if you're on the third level of Patreon and support my channel. So awesome for that. So anyway, that's it for me. I've made myself potato soup because we have a snowstorm here, a really bad snowstorm in Maryland. So I can't leave the house because I'm in quarantine. And then my daughter went to the store for me and there was nothing on the shelves because none of the trucks could get through. So I made potato soup because I had potatoes and milk. So I've got delicious potato soup waiting for me. So I'm not so sick I couldn't make potato soup. So there you go. Thank you, Chucky. I do feel better than I felt yesterday, which I said almost canceled the show because I felt really crappy, but I feel better tonight. So maybe I'm almost over it. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was Picton, right? Triple Crown says Picton in Canada had a pig farm. Yep, you're right. It's Picton. Yeah, that was stuff. And anybody who knows me really well knows that I had a pig for 20 years. I had a potbelly pig named Gwendolyn. And if you actually go on YouTube and you put in profiler Pat Brown Gwendolyn pig, you will find all my videos on the pig because my pig, I had a pig for 20 years, Gwendolyn, my black potbelly pig, and one of my ex-renters, when she left because she was a psycho, she left and then she reported my pig to the authorities and they came out and they said I had to get rid of my pig. So then I had everybody started supporting my piggy and saying she shouldn't be thrown off the property after 20 years. And even the National Enquirer had coupons to save Gwendolyn the pig. And the media came out, the Washington Post came out and took photos and videos. And so you can find news stories about Gwendolyn the pig, my pig. But pointing that out, Gwendolyn will eat anything. Gwendolyn is a pig. And one day I had this refrigerator, which I didn't lock. So I came home one day and Gwendolyn was smart. She was a smart pig. She was a 300-pound smart pig. And she was in my kitchen and she opened up my refrigerator. She pulled out all the drawers. She ate. I came home and she was lying on the floor of the kitchen, like, she was all stuffed. And beside her with empty bread bags and empty bacon. I'm like, you ate your relatives. Oh, Coin, I love my pig. Gwendolyn, my piggy, was the best thing ever. I had her for 20 years. She's one of the oldest living pigs and in the country. And she was famous. Yes, she was in a food coma. That's right, Humanimal. She was in a food coma. She was a wonderful piggy. I loved her very much. She did a funny thing one day, too. Smart pig. So my daughter brought home Girl Scout cookies. And I was going to make sure they were safe. So I put them in the laundry room there was this tall shelf, it was a standalone shelf, kind of like a wood thing with like these almost like steps going all the way up to the ceiling. I put the cookies on the top shelf, and then I took this heavy, very heavy, one of these red mechanic things with all mechanic tools in it, and I pushed it in front of the shelf to, secure it to the wall. I came back the next day, and I walk in, and the cookies are gone, and the mechanics, the big red thing, the heavy container. What do you call that? I forget what you call the case. It's I forgot what tool people those are. But anyway, the mechanics tools pushed the pig had pushed that aside, and then what she had done, she rocked the shelving unit until the cookies fell off the top, and then she ate them all up. She was a very smart pig. Oh my God. So yes, I love my piggy. Toolbox. Thank you. God, Christine. Yes, maybe hard to tell if I have Alzheimer's or not, but oh my God. And the real reason I can't explain anything with English is because I use sign language, and so I can see it in my head. I can see that. So I'm thinking tools and in a box, and I can't explain it with English. Anyway, that's my excuse. Anyway. Oh my God. Triple Crown says, my brothers would have learned how to fly to get treats off the top shelf. Annie says, oink. Oh, Suddenly says, I have a terrible feral hog issue behind my fence. We've got hundreds. Where do you live, Suddenly, to have feral hogs every place? I do love feral hogs. I kind of like them too. I'm just a pig lover. I mean, I am. I just love pigs. Anna Lisette says, I wonder what percentage of kids' cookies and candy sales are paid for by parents covering up pet thefts. That would be something to profile. Maria says, my cat used to do stuff like that. Your cat ate cookies? Now my cat, I had a Bengal cat. And the Bengal cat was interesting because it would I came one day and I was sipping out of I had a milkshake. I was sipping out of the straw. I put it down. I came back. I'm like, the straw was gone. And the cat had pulled the straw and ran away. But it also used to eat French fries. So it's kind of weird. North Texas. Suddenly says North Texas. Yeah, North Texas. That'll do it. I've been in a few places in the world where the feral pigs run around, and I like them. So I have a. Oh, Anna Lisette says, I would like a Bengal cat. Their Bengal cats are cool. I had 2 Bengal cats, and I absolutely that's my favorite cat that I ever had. Yeah. So, I like a lot of animals that are unusual. So, I get excited about things other people go, and I go, oh, that's really neat. It's like, okay. I'm not normal. In case you don't know, I'm not normal. But I've always loved animals since I was a child. I had my sister was allergic to fur, so I started out with what did I start out with? Those little turtles, and then I went to toads, and then I went to frogs, and then I went to lizards, and then that's pretty much where I started. I went to lizards, and then when I finally could have my own home, I had cats, and then I had rats and rabbits and all kinds of lizards, frogs, and toads, and salamanders and stuff. And then I got a piggy. It's pretty cool. I love my pig. 20 years. My kids said one day, which is almost kind of concerning. They said, my son says to me, Mom, I don't remember actually growing up without a pig in the house. I'm like, was it an abnormal childhood, honey? Oh, the fennec. Anna Lisette wants a fennec, an Arabian fox. Those are very cool looking, yeah. The coin says, nope, you're not normal. Yeah, I gave up on that years ago. Totally gave up on that. The one advantage is at some point in life, you just say, I am what I am. So, yes, they have incredible ears, Anna. They do. They have these really cool ears. Yeah. So, yeah, there's a couple animals I still would like in life, but I live right now, and my daughter has taken over my insanity, and so we have a horse, a donkey, 3 llamas, 2 alpacas, rabbits, and chickens. So, and dogs and cats, and so, but they're not mine. Oh yeah, I do have the bearded dragon, the 2 mice. the 2 colonies of dubia roaches to feed the dragon, and the toad. But that was all my granddaughter's fault. I mean, I was not going to, the cat, the evil cat, Ziggy. But, I wasn't going to have more pets until coronavirus hit. And then my granddaughter was here every day and she wanted these pets. And so I got them for her. And now she's back to school and she could care less about the pets that I have to take care of. Oh, I'm so screwed. Why me? And he says, "Oh, you have hedgehogs now. Oh my God, really? Oh, they're cute. Oh, the hedgehogs are really cute. I have to bet we're gonna get some flying squirrels too. I want flying squirrels." And that says, "I saw one in the San Diego Zoo. The breeze was ruffling its hair and ears." I think that's the fennec. Yeah. This has gone from a human show to an animal show. Oh my God, it's getting late. I'm losing my mind. Oh, what's left of it from COVID. So anyway, so I can end the show and go have my potato soup. Although I love talking with you guys, it is cool. What was I going to say? Oh yeah, so since this is absolutely accidentally open to the public at the moment, at 12 a.m. on Saturday morning, Eastern Standard Time. I keep calling it midnight because to me it's like Friday midnight, but it's Saturday 12 a.m. I'm going to hopefully be awake to do this show. I'm going to attempt to do this show. Triple Crown says, "Where on earth do you buy squirrels and llamas?" Oh, good Lord, you'd be surprised how many places they are. Yeah, so we got them. I don't have squirrels. I just have llamas, and we have llamas and alpacas, and a donkey and a horse. So I'm going to do my first Saturday morning, 12 a.m. show. And the reason I'm doing it is because normally people can come to my shows on Sunday at 3 p.m. are either from the U.S. or from the UK or Canada. They can make it at that time zone for the live show. And so I usually do cases that are mostly U.S. shows. A few, work my way to Canada and UK, but mostly this area. I'm talking about English speaking, although, there are people in other countries who their first language isn't English, but they can speak it. Well, certainly like to can tune in. But, obviously this is an English speaking show. So, but there's a lot of people in other countries like India, there's billions of people there, and they would like to hear about cases from India. There's people from China, Hong Kong, all Malaysia, that whole Asian area. That's what's known as East Asia, Southeast Asia, and South Asia. And then from Oceania, which includes Australia and New Zealand. These are all people who, if I do a show at 12 a.m., will be thrilled because they'll be awake and they can come to the live show. So I'm going to try it twice this month. And our first show is going to be on the Delhi 2012 horrible case of a gang rape by 6 men on a Delhi bus of a young woman. She was with a companion, but they were on the bus. They attacked the guy, and then they raped and hurt the woman terribly in a horrible sadistic attack. And she eventually died. But fascinating case and fascinating police work, things that, are just very interesting to analyze all the different issues about the perpetrators and how the police did their police work. And from an Indian point of view, and anybody who knows me knows I've been to India 5 times, so I have a little bit of feeling for it. But one of the things I'm going to do when I do these shows, because these are not my native culture, I'm very open to the live shows. And I want them to be live for this reason, because I want people from the country to tune in and say you're wrong, or you don't understand how we work. This is how our police work, or this is what we culturally think is important to know. Because one of the problems with being a profiler or an investigator of any sort is when you're working in another location, even in your own country where the culture is different from yours. So let's say you're a northerner, but you're working in the South, or you're working in this country like in the U.S., but you're working with an immigrant group that you are not familiar with. Let's say their immigrant group is from El Salvador, or the immigrant group is from Pakistan. You don't understand that group. Then you might miss out on evidence and not understand how to analyze the case properly because you don't know the culture. So I'm very open when I do this show to say, hey, to jump in here, because I want to learn more about how the culture will affect the evidence and how it will affect investigation. Really, a lot of fascinating things. But I, as a profiler, will give my viewpoint on that, but I'm perfectly open to people, speaking out. And Maria says, English isn't my first language. Well, you're doing great with it. But, there are many people here from other countries who English isn't their first language, but, I can't even tell. So, so there are people all over the world who will come to my show anyway, even if we're talking about the U.S. Cases, because they're interested in those U.S. cases. But I just want to expand a little because I find some of the cases so interesting. So this week I'm doing at 12 o'clock. I'm going to do the 2012 Delhi bus gang rape case, and in 2 weeks I'm going to do Peter Falconio from Australia. And this is a case that is fascinating to people in Australia, especially who say there's a lot of things. Is Peter Falconio guilty or not guilty of committing this particular murder of a guy out in the outback? So again, I'm not familiar with the Australian outback. I'd like to become familiar. So if you're watching this show and you're watching the show in 2 weeks on that 12 a.m. show, you can invite me to Australia. I've never been, and I want to visit. So, but yes, I want, there's things I'm going to miss because I am culturally maybe slightly ignorant of certain things. And you go, well, that doesn't work that way. And you're like, oh, so I'm very open when I'm doing cases from other countries. I'm a little more secure doing cases from the U.S. But even, when I do stuff from the UK or, or some cases here that involve certain communities, which I'm not as familiar with, I might need to talk to people in that community and say, hey, what's up? What am I thinking right? Or have you got some information? And this is what detectives need to do as well, because you just maybe don't know. And so you need to find out. Humanimal says, excellent. Peter disappeared. Joanna Lee survived. Murdoch charged. Oh, I've been along the same strip of road and it's spooky. Okay, so I'm a little unfamiliar yet. Oh, me too. A 1-year Australian toy coin says, oh, cool. So I've got 2 weeks to really study that particular case. And I will study that particular case and see what I come up with as far as what I think actually happened. But I'm looking forward to that. And so if you are from somewhere else outside of the United States, the UK and Canada, and you're going to be in one of the Asian or Oceania areas and can show up for my live, please do send me suggestions, because these are going to be cases that, we sometimes think in the U.S. everybody knows our cases, and maybe they don't. And I know people from the UK say, how about this case? I'm like, well, I've never heard of that case. And and the same thing is true. I never heard of the Australian case. I did know about the Delhi case because I spent a lot of time in India. So, we are often very unaware of cases that happen in other countries. And I think it's very interesting to look at all these cases around the world, because it teaches us a lot about profiling and investigations and human nature. So, Emmanuel says, it's true, outback and the landscape is so beautiful, but very dangerous. I'd like to see it one day. It's like one of those places I'd like to be. Anyway, good night, everybody. I'm gonna head out. Emmanuel says, mustache, bye. Bye. I'm heading out too. I'm going to have my soup and go lie down and get ready for hopefully I can stay awake. 12 a.m. on Saturday. I may give up this idea really soon. I think I'm insane, but I'm going to try it at least once. So I'm glad you were all here tonight, even the people that weren't supposed to be here tonight. I'm excited that you're all here tonight. So that's fabulous. So good night, everybody, and I will see you all next time. So good night.